Hello everyone, Ryan here. So for this week's Music Monday, I decided to talk about Dio. That's right, Dio. Of course, the band, but also the singer, Ronnie James Dio. And in my opinion, and I believe in the opinion of a lot of other metalheads, heavy metal fans, hard rock fans, or just rock fans in general, I mean, he definitely was one of the best singers out there. One of the best rock singers, metal singers. And it's a shame that he passed away. He passed, unfortunately, due to stomach cancer. And, of course, rest in peace, Ronnie James Dio. But I believe he passed away, I want to say sometime in 2010. Yeah. And it came out as a complete surprise to me, because I just, one day all of a sudden I heard it on the radio. I didn't even know about, I mean, I had no idea that he was battling stomach cancer. So, yeah, it was a pretty big surprise to me. And I'm sure, I mean, I know to a lot of other Dio fans, and but definitely his legacy will live on. I mean, how could it not? Such an awesome singer. Which, by the way, if you're not familiar with him, I will say that he did front a number of other bands, also helped to found some of them, such as Rainbow, Elf, trying to remember. I know there's at least like 2 or 3 others. Heaven and Hell, and then he was also the singer for Black Sabbath for a certain amount of time. I'm not exactly sure how long he was the singer, because he replaced Ozzy. Because, yeah, if you didn't know, there was a time in Black Sabbath, pretty much, they kicked out Ozzy, or I don't know, or Ozzy quit, but either way, there was a period when Ozzy wasn't their singer, and Ronnie James Dio filled that spot for a number of years. I want to say at least a couple of years. Even, he even went on tour with them, and in fact, there's a collection, a Black Sabbath album, like a collection of just nothing but all the songs that Ronnie James Dio wrote and recorded with Black Sabbath. And I used to have it, but I remember I listened to it quite a lot, which it's actually a pretty awesome collection. I recommend listening to that. If you haven't, I mean, especially if you're a fan of Dio, but even more so if you're a fan of Black Sabbath. So, I mean, as far as the band Dio, of course, Ronnie James Dio, he founded the band aptly named after himself, and it was sometime in 1982. And, you know, they went on to create hits like Holy Diver, Rainbow in the Dark, Last in Line, Long Live Rock and Roll. I believe there's another one, Don't Talk to Strangers or something like that. So many other awesome hit songs that, you know, for a certain amount of time, you know, they got a good amount of radio play. I believe a good amount of airplay. And then, of course, I mean, I happen to believe that I think, while Dio was awesome in the studio, he was even more awesome in a live setting. So, there's plenty of old footage out there on YouTube of Dio pretty much singing his ass off. You know, I mean, you wouldn't really know what to look at him. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if, like, back then, like, so many people would see him walking around if they would see him like in his hometown or in somewhere in LA or pretty much because I think, I mean, he wasn't a tall guy. I believe he was like 5'4" at the tallest, maybe even a little less than that, give or take what kind of shoes he happened to be wearing at the time. And so, yeah, and, you just, I mean, I think, like, pretty much when he was off stage, he just always, like, pretty much kept to himself. And, which makes sense. I mean, me being a musician myself, and me also, I'm also kind of the same way, when I'm off stage or when I'm not playing with a band or something, I pretty much keep to myself most of the time. I don't go out looking for trouble. I don't go out and wreak havoc or, which I believe is a common misconception about a lot of musicians. Like, people just automatically assume that all musicians are, that they live by that whole thing of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. When in reality, that's not the case. That might apply to some musicians some of the time. Well, I mean, I guess obviously rock musicians. It might apply to some of them some of the time. Depending on, first off, definitely depending on how popular they are. Definitely depending on how often they tour, what their fan base is like. And then also, too, depending on, whatever, I don't know, what's the word? Whatever, I guess, the word escapes me. I want to say proclivities, I don't know. I guess depending on, whatever each individual musician happens to be into, like, if they are into having a lot of sex, then of course they're going to have a lot of sex. If they are into doing a lot of drugs, of course they're going to do a lot of drugs. And if, I feel like it's rare when there's a musician out there, popular or not, I feel it's rare when there actually is a musician who is not only into rock and roll, but also drugs and sex and in vast amounts. Like, that's just me coming from my own experience as a musician playing with different bands. And so, yeah. So, I mean, obviously, anyways, getting back to Dio, I guess, yeah, he was, mostly an introvert person. But yeah, again, when he hit that stage and he sing his heart out, sing his ass off. Yeah, and not to mention, the other members of his band. I mean, he always knew, I guess, to me it seemed like he always knew how to get along with the other members of his band. And also too, like, he always knew how to find, like, which musicians would help to, I guess, push him as well, to try to, to push him to also just really, like, push his vocals. And I mean, I'm pretty sure he was already awesome to begin with. I mean, I haven't seen any kind of, like, biographical movie about Ronnie James Dio. I think there should be. They definitely should make one. I mean, it's. Oh, and then also too, I wanted to say that, unfortunately, I never had the honor of seeing Dio live in concert, but I have seen a tribute band. There's a local tribute band here where I live. I want to say they're called, like, Sacred Heart, but they're a Dio tribute band. I think I've seen them twice, I believe, but not because I I like actually wanted to go see them, or I mean, because last summer when I was playing with my band Revolt, and we were playing a lot of shows during last summer, and so this Dio tribute band, they opened for us a couple times, and they're pretty good. They're pretty awesome, especially the singer, the guy who was there, and he actually wore a wig like Ronnie James Dio, like a brownish kind of long curly haired wig, and he wore the same kind of like a similar outfit, like I mean, very similar to how Ronnie James Dio looked. But not only that, like he sang pretty much exactly like Ronnie James Dio. And also too, he was short too. He was also short, like barely like 5'2" or 5'3". It's just really awesome, you know. I mean, I would say, like, as far as Dio tribute bands go, they're definitely like right up there. I mean, I would say, but then I don't actively seek out tribute bands to begin with. So, but no, they're definitely very awesome. You know, I believe if Dio had been around to see him, he also would have thought they were awesome. So that's what I think. You know, I know that several bands have done their own cover versions of Dio songs, like Holy Diver, Rainbow in the Dark. In fact, the band Killswitch Engage, they did their own cover version of Holy Diver, which actually sounds pretty awesome. I remember the first time I heard that on the radio, and you know, I liked what they did with it. And you know, but obviously, I mean, you know, I do prefer the original, but I do also like Killswitch Engage's version of it. So, you know, Holy Diver is one of those iconic songs, and you know, plus I feel like even if you're not familiar with Ronnie James Dio, I feel like all you have to do is hear like the first, I don't know, 20, 30 seconds of that song, and right away it'll sound familiar to you. So, you know, that's the mark of a good band, of good musicianship and songwriting. And so, I don't know, it could also be the mark of just how important pop culture tends to be to most people. Or but yeah, you know, I mean, I could go on and on about Ronnie James Dio, but it'd definitely be much better for you to just experience him for yourself, and, especially if you never have. If you never have, I'm gonna say, you know, you're in for a treat. It's, you know, I'll provide some links to where you can check out some of Dio's songs, but also, especially, some live performances. Because yeah, you just gotta watch him. You just gotta see him in action, and after that, you will be a changed person. I think so. I bet that's what I believe. It's obviously most people are gonna have their own opinions about everything. So it's yeah. So anyways, that'll do it for this week's Music Monday. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and as always, until next time, don't forget, keep it real, keep on rocking, and peace.